I'm going to get this completely wrong, but I think Christian Eriksen may end up at Manchester United. The day before we recorded this, I saw Edu at Arsenal talking about the signing of Fabio Vieira, and Robert Lewandowski, if he leaves Bayern Munich, is almost certain to go to Barcelona.
He's a Hayters TV right at the beginning.
Exactly, precisely this very channel, and it's in much better shape now than when I was doing those bulletins, I can assure you of that.
Today, I am super excited. It's Jerry Cox from Hayters TV, by the way. This is kicking off our summer podcast series, but we're super excited to have David Ornstein, the one and only Mr. Transfer Guru, Mr. ITK, we know him as Orny. If I remember, David, it all started for you way back in the mist of time when Arsenal used to challenge for the league title. We're going back that far. So David's going to talk through his career, some of the big exclusives you've got over the years, and then maybe a few pointers for people wanting to get into the business.
Yeah.
And then we'll stay to the end because we're going to have a quick fire, answer all your questions, who's coming, who's going, who's staying, who's not going, and who's done the best business this summer. So maybe, David, if we just start it all off, this time of the year, it's June, transfer window's just started, the season's just finished. Most football reporters are sort of having a well-earned break with their families. A bit different for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks very much for having me, and it's a pleasure to come on the podcast. My job is quite unique and idiosyncratic, niche, because it's slightly different to the traditional football reporter, sports reporter even, and it's really focused on the stories around the football and around the events and around the matches. So we're talking transfers, contracts, managerial changes, goings on inside, lifting the curtain a little bit on what's going on. And a lot of the time during the season, it's fairly routine and you're in a cycle, matches, weekends, midweek. And I tend to have to work a lot harder to find things because things are a little bit quieter in the market. It's more just preparations for the summer and the winter markets. Whereas as soon as the season finishes, clubs are in market mode, players are in market mode, managers, executives,
and
scouts,
agents.
It's
all fans want to talk about, really, isn't it?
It seems
coming,
to be.
Who's going?
Well, it's like an industry in itself, the transfer market. And you could put a report out during a match about a transfer, and I'm sure that you would get more interactions about that than you would the match itself, which shows a bit of the changing nature of that part of the industry. But yeah, it's incredibly busy as soon as the season finishes. We did manage to go on a bit of a holiday for the first time in a long time, post-pandemic. So we got abroad. But even then, I was working, tried to limit the time. And since I've been back, it's just been absolutely relentless because right now, there are so many deals happening or in the works, conversations taking place, negotiations going on, bids landing, being accepted and rejected. It feels like life has been breathed back into the market after the effects of the pandemic. There is more money because revenues in the Premier League especially are higher with fans back in the stadiums, a new overseas television deal until 2028 with America at least, that's with NBC. And so it's boom time for the Premier League and a lot of clubs want to trade, players are on the move, trying to find solutions. I don't remember the market ever being this busy so early in the window. I don't know if that's because I'm better connected and finding out about more or whether it's just genuinely the case. And I've said that to a few people and they say, no, with all due respect to you and your contacts, it's genuinely the case. Things are going haywire and for journalists like you and I, it's good fun.
So let's go back. One of those clubs that's doing their business early, Tottenham. Daniel Levy seems to have found some money for Tottenham fans' surprise, maybe. But it was back in Tottenham Hale. I remember you walking into our office in 2006, something like that, 2005.
Yeah, it would have been 6.
Looking for a break.
Yeah.
So
right.
Tell us how it went from there onto the Guardian, the BBC, and now the Athletic.
Yeah. Well, if I take it right back, I had a relative who worked at Capital Radio and she managed to get me some work experience. And a lot of the time I spent there was with Capital Gold because I was so interested in the sport. But I must say to any aspiring journalist that I moved around departments, news, travel, weather even perhaps, music, and spent time with like the DJs there and to get a bit of a flavour of everything. But it was really sport that I was most interested in. So as my school years finished, I targeted sports journalism as the career that I wanted to go into, which is pretty much when I had accepted that a career as a professional sports person would not happen. I wanted to become a footballer, like many
like
people.
A few of us, yeah. We all realise certainly at some stage.
Yeah, and
the next best thing, isn't it? Usually,
and it was for me. But I mean, I was at a decent level. I had a year on trial with Chelsea at Harlington, which is now QPR's training ground.
Any players that we know about now were there?
No, I think it was the transition from Glenn Hoddle to Ruud Gullit as manager in mid to late 90s, and I remember the names of a number of players from my group, but none of them I saw make it through into first team. There were a couple of boys who were in the lower leagues that I spotted, but afraid not. Mark Hughes' son was in our group. Sparky used to watch the sessions from the side of the pitch. Dave Besant was one of the coaches who was the first team goalkeeper at Southampton in the Premier League at the time, and would come back to his former club, Chelsea, to do some coaching of kids. So it was all good fun. But no, when that flame died, it was very much onto sports journalism. And when I was finishing school and did media at A-level, I looked up journalism courses, found a great one at Bournemouth University, the BA Honours in Multimedia Journalism, BAMJ as we call it. And it's a great course with great people in terms of the staff and alumni, the things you learn on that course, practical and theoretical work, industry standard facilities, student newspaper, radio station, TV, etc. And coming out of there, I wanted to become a multimedia sports journalist. I edited the student newspaper for a while, and I applied for lots of internships and jobs. None of them came up. I'd done tons of work experience in my 3 years there, about 20 plus stints, unpaid, no travel expenses or anything like that, but great, invaluable experience. And that's when I think I was recommended to you guys and got in touch with you. I can't remember the exact process, but I'll never not be eternally grateful for the opportunity to come on board and to experience print. Actually, you started up in video form, and I was doing some bits for you, some news bulletins for websites who had got in touch with Hayters Teamwork and wanted to run some sports bulletins. And so I sat in one of your rooms and sort of self-recorded them in a way that most of your guys have become past masters at now. It was very fresh and primitive then.
So the early days of Hayters TV, right at the beginning.
Exactly, precisely right. This very channel. And it's in much better shape now than when I was doing those bulletins, I can assure you of that. Mainly writing, and we were in at Tottenham Hale, travelling over there, and you guys would wonderfully send me out to games. I remember going to Barnet, Underhill a lot, and various other places, press conferences at Premier League clubs, you introducing me to executives and people at Tottenham when I think one of the managers was appointed. Damien Comoli was the sporting director. That's and they unveiled a load of signings at the same time. Gareth Bale, Eunice Kabul, maybe
Genus, I think.
Genus, maybe Zakora. I could have got that. Chimbonda. I can't remember the exact names, but it was. There's images of it you can find online. I went down. You would introduce me to people. We'd file some copy. We'd meet. We'd do press conferences. Nothing like learning on the job, and being at matches in particular or press conferences which turn into a big story. So you may think that you're going for a few paragraphs that might be sold to the Daily Star, but actually if you land upon a story, then every newspaper wants your work. It was gold dust that time I spent with you, which was relatively short because it was while I was with you that I got a call from The Guardian, who I'd applied for, to ask me if I would like to interview for their traineeship after seeing my application. I went in, interviewed, took my portfolio of work from university and Hayters and elsewhere, work experience, did well, and they called me back for a second interview. I thought, no chance, these jobs only go to students from Oxford or Cambridge, and I'm from Bournemouth University. And the second interview, I gave it my all, didn't think anything of it, came back to work at Hayters, carried on, and then I got a call saying, you've got the job. And the rest was history. That's where it really launched in a professional sense, because I was now being paid. Whereas with you guys, like many people, you go and you volunteer and you take whatever comes your way. It's more for the opportunity than any other reward.
And you're getting your byline and you're getting about, and you can go and interview people and talk to people, and they know a story is going to appear in a quality newspaper, and you're going to put your stamp of approval on it. So it's got to be right, isn't it? And that was the important thing, is getting the stories right, really, from the very first go.
Yeah, I mean, I had the benefit of learning the principles and the basics at university, because that course I was on was very thorough, and it gives you a really good grounding, especially in things like shorthand, law and ethics, the do's and don'ts. And it's then up to the practical experience. And I was getting that on those work experience stints, but still I was the work experience boy and not sort of an employee or a member of staff in your case for that time. And so I was allowed to cut my teeth by you guys, getting the name in national, local, regional media, international media, because you had a lot of good links to the globe. And that comes with a responsibility, because whoever has been the sub-editor of your copy, whoever is the editor that commissioned the story, it's your name and it's on your shoulders. And I've learned this throughout my career. When people are watching your work or listening to it, whatever mitigating circumstances might explain an error or crisis behind the scenes that has created a bit of a disappointing or error-strewn piece of work, you are the one who has to front up. And so that's why you should take pride and joy in your work, pride and joy in the process of everything. And you learn very quickly, or I did, that it's more important to be right than quick. If you can be right and quick, that's the perfect balance. And listen to the feedback you're receiving from your superiors and experienced colleagues, because they have been there and done it. And you're not trying to be a clone of someone else. You're trying to be your own self and put your own stamp on things and use your own initiative and be self-motivated and work as hard as possible. And we'll come on to talk to why hard work can pretty much get you anywhere. You don't rest on your laurels, but it's really important to learn as you go. I later in my career went on to the BBC Sport website and even now at The Athletic, and I've learned the lesson, and it's stuck with me, that simple is effective. If, in my case, you're a sort of sports news, football news writer or reporter or correspondent on TV or radio, unless you're a colour writer or a features type journalist who produces lovely prose and poetic language, I don't have that skill, in my opinion. Just cut to the chase, keep it simple, and let other people do what they want. But your job is, in my realm, is to report the facts, get the information right, and that was your actual question. Sorry to digress, but never ever compromise yourself for an adrenaline rush of being the guy just to get the scoop at the expense of accuracy, checking. Your reputation takes a hell of a long time to build up, years in most of our cases, but it only takes an instant to demolish.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And if you're going to take risks that could see it demolished, then there's a very good chance that your career will not fulfill its potential.
So let's get on to some of these big names. Let's see if we can get a couple of these going. So here we go. Quick fire questions. Christian Eriksen, Brentford, Man United, Spurs.
I'm going to get this completely wrong, but I think Christian Eriksen may end up at Manchester United.
Raheem Sterling, is he going to Chelsea, Arsenal, anywhere else?
As things stand, I think the direction of travel for Raheem Sterling is Chelsea, but I do think the door is open in his mind to a small number of elite clubs around Europe. So I would not say it's a certainty, but Chelsea's a very strong option.
Robert Lewandowski?
Robert Lewandowski, if he leaves Bayern Munich, is almost certain to go to Barcelona. That's the move that he wants. They want him, but Bayern have something to say about that, and it wouldn't surprise me, against his will, if he ends up having to stay and see out the final year of his contract.
Frenkie de Jong? Could he go to Manchester United?
Frenkie de Jong to Manchester United is a move that a number of people you speak to in the game are convinced will happen by the end of this window. But it may be a long and painful process for Manchester United and their supporters, because Barcelona want to achieve the highest fee they can. Manchester United want to achieve the lowest fee they can. It's a game of poker, but his sale does hold the key to Barcelona being able to do the business that they want. And that makes me think that in the end, Erik ten Hag is more likely than not to get his man, but it's not guaranteed.
Kalvin Phillips to Manchester City?
Kalvin Phillips to Manchester City is a deal that I think will happen, but it's perhaps taking a bit longer than we might have expected, because the clubs probably have slightly different valuations of where they see him, and they're going to have to try and reach a compromise. I think it is likely to happen.
Gabriel Jesus.
Gabriel Jesus is Arsenal's top target for this transfer window. They are doing everything they can to sign him and sign him as quickly as possible, because Mikel Arteta wants to build his attack around him. But as things stand, there is no agreement between the clubs. Arsenal need to get to a figure that Manchester City are prepared to accept, and Manchester City will not easily drop or waver far from that, because they don't need to. Meanwhile, there is interest in Gabriel Jesus from Chelsea and others, so if Arsenal snooze, they may lose, and others can potentially offer him Champions League football. As things stand, Gabriel Jesus' most likely destination is Arsenal, but it is not a done deal.
Here's one from left field. Alexis Sanchez back to Arsenal.
Alexis Sanchez, I can say to you with absolute certainty, is not returning to Arsenal. It's a story I've not even seen, I've certainly not heard about, and if it happens, I will swallow my pride.
Another one from the past at Arsenal, Mesut Ozil. Is he leaving Turkey?
Mesut Ozil released a statement yesterday reiterating his commitment to Fenerbahce, and his contract has some time to go. There have clearly been some issues there, but I don't see him playing elsewhere for the time being. His intention was to finish his career at Fenerbahce, and so as far as I know, that is what is going to happen.
Raphinha?
Raphinha is the hot topic of conversation at the moment, because Arsenal have had an initial offer rejected by Leeds United. It fell well below their valuation, but Arsenal's interest remains strong, and he is a player that Mikel Arteta wants to sign. It may be another one that takes quite a lot of time and will not be easy, especially because of the competition from the likes of Tottenham, Chelsea, and his long-held desire, or the most likely destination, the team that he was most heavily linked with, was Barcelona. And if they can get their act together financially, they may have the money after all to do a deal that they looked almost certain to do if Leeds had been relegated. And it appears to have hit the buffers from their perspective a bit. But I'm not going to give a prediction on where he'll end up. That is too difficult to guess.
Another Brazilian, Richarlison.
Richarlison is a target for Tottenham Hotspur, and if the price is right, I think that move will happen, and so do a number of people you speak to within the game. Everton have got a very high asking price or valuation for him, and as things stand, I don't see Tottenham or anyone else meeting that. It's whether that valuation comes down and they're willing to accept less to help with their financial situation, and he only has 2 years to go on his contract. And so, while there is interest from other clubs, I think the most probable destination, if he is to leave Everton, is Tottenham.
Lisandro Martinez?
Lisandro Martinez is a firm target for Arsenal for the left centre-back role, and he can also operate at left-back in the mind of Arsenal. He's a player that Mikel Arteta wants to sign. I reported that Arsenal had had an approach worth around 30 million euros rejected by Ajax, but that interest will not drop. The question is who else is interested in him, and of course he's played for Erik ten Hag at Manchester United in the past, and there are reports that Erik ten Hag would like to bring him to United now. The problem is that Manchester United are focusing on Frenkie de Jong and Christian Eriksen. There may also be concerns over whether Lisandro Martinez is tall enough for the left centre-back role, because I don't know of Manchester United looking to do what Arsenal would like, which is to use him as an option at left-back as well. So as things stand, I think Arsenal is the most probable destination for Lisandro Martinez, who is said to be keen on the move. But again, this one could have twists and turns with a number of clubs admiring such a good player.